come on in, pull up a chair, and take a load off, because today I'll be unboxing and taking a first look at D-Day and Beyond from Tiny Battle Publishing. And we'll hit the beaches right after this. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. As I mentioned in the open, I am going to unbox and take a peek at D-Day and Beyond. I keep wanting to say D-Day and Beyond, like space and beyond. But I won't. It's D-Day and Beyond from Tiny Battle Publishing. It's designed by John Stafford and James Baldrighi. I know I'm nowhere close to pronouncing that name. Artwork is provided by Jose Ramon Fuara. The game is for 2 players, ages 14 and up. Plays in 5 to 20 hours. That is according to the box, depending on the scenario. D-Day and Beyond is available right now. Does carry an MSRP of $55. The fine folks over at Tiny Battle Publishing were kind enough to send along this review copy of D-Day and Beyond. We are going to crack this open. Of course, I'm not doing a review. I have not even opened up this box, but this is a review copy that came from Mark Walker and the rest of the gang over at Tiny Battle. So I'm going to get the shrink wrap off. First thing I'm going to point out is that Tiny Battle Publishing, most of their games actually come in folios. So they come in Ziploc bags. This is the largest Tiny Battle game yet. Kind of funny, right? Largest Tiny Battle. But this is a box edition. This is the second game that they have released in a box. The first was actually the First Day of Gettysburg game from my good pal, Herman Lettman, was the designer. This is the second. So right away, this box is bigger than usual too, because the other box was about yay big. So I'm going to read some of the back. D-Day and Beyond, June 6th, 1944 through May 19th, 1945. D-Day and Beyond is a tense 2-player operational board game covering the European theater from the French Atlantic and Mediterranean coasts to the dense German forests, the Siegfried Line, and the Rhine River. The Allied player faces the tough decision about where and when to land troops, what scarce air and naval resources to employ on offense or defense, and struggles to keep a coherent supply line to his forward troops. The German player has to throw the landings off the beach, if able, and failing that, fight a retrograde war that requires balancing holding key terrain, slowing the Allied advance, and preserving units. Additional rules showcase the resistance, rail movement, airborne operations, carpet bombing, the release of German reserves, and the infamous Wacht im Rhein offensive known as Autumn Mist or the Battle of the Bulge. Got to point out, we have had a wave of wargame / conflict simulations hit lately, and pretty cool topics as well. One of the first things I'm going to point out is, we'll crack this on open, is that this is not simply a June 6th, 1944 game. It is not just D-Day. It actually kind of simulates almost a year from the landings. So very cool. So we've got a little, hey, we were able to check this out, make sure everything's okay card. There we go. So we've got a couple of 6-sided dice, black and white. We've got the counters are in a Ziploc bag. And I can see that these were cut pretty nicely because the counters are all popping off. So you can see a bunch of them rolling around in there. I'll actually save the counters for last. We'll zoom in. We'll take a closer look at those. We'll get those out of the way here. So we have an allied reinforcement sheet and German reinforcements, single-sided. So we've got those. Order of battle, the Allies and the Germans at the start. So we've got both of these. We have a paper map, paper board. We'll take a look at these. Oh, it's in 2 parts. So looks like this is going to be pretty large. And we've got the rule book. So let's dive on into the rule book and take a peek. Let's take a peek at the rule book here. So we've got the introduction, talking about general course of play, game equipment as well. Game scale. Each game turn represents 1 week of real time. Each hex is approximately 24 miles across. Talking about the different units as well as markers. Talking about different phases. We got movement, sea movement, march movement, rail movement. Talking about stacking. Both players may stack up to 4 units in any land hex. Step reductions and unit size don't affect the count. Got zones of control. Talking about combat. Multiple unit combat. Invasions. Reinforcements. Release of German reserves. Talking about replacements as well. I guess so we get replacement points. 2 types, infantry and armor. Talking about weather, supply, and isolation. Looks like we've got an example here of supply. I would take a guess the complexity to this is going to be toward the higher end. This simply does not look like it would be something, a gateway that you're going to utilize to introduce conflict simulations to someone who has not played any war games in the past. I think one of the giveaways is the indication that the scenarios run from 5 to 20 hours. So we got the resistance, talking about autumn mist. We got naval fire support optional rules. Patton leads the invasion. How to win. Talking about objectives and victory points. Now we get into our scenario. So we got the historical scenario. Historical scenario with hidden units. A free German setup. We've got a short game. And we get some designer notes and historical game commentary. And an index. And we get an ad for Phantom Division as well as La Resistance, which I have reviewed. Very interesting game. Very interesting game from Flying Pig Games, another company that is owned by Mark H. Walker. All right, so those are the rules. Let's take a look at the board here. It's pretty good size. Should be able to fit most of this. Yeah, we can fit this into the shot. So this is the right side of the game map, game board. I know a lot of people like paper boards because they just lay down a piece of plexiglass on top or a piece of plastic on top. I've gotten more and more used to them. Used to be I was like always like, poo-poo, it's not a mounted board. But I do understand there are a lot of people who live in areas that are very, very humid. And those mounted, I almost said mountain. The mounted boards tend to warp. So luckily I have not lived someplace with humidity like that. All right, so getting a better look here. So as I said, that is the right side. Here we've got the left side. Wow, here we got the game turn track and weather. It's pretty wild. Speaking of weather, okay, now I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent. A lot of people don't realize my brother Greg has appeared in films, TV shows, things like that. He was actually in the series I think it was called When Weather Made History, and it was on the Weather Channel, and he actually portrayed one of the meteorologists who had predicted the weather for D-Day. So, in fact, he played the meteorologist who was right, who had predicted the weather exactly correct. So we've got our combat results table, our CRT, got a replacements tracker, invasion charts, terrain effects as well. So here we have the Allied turn, breaking down the Allied turn. Carpet bombing table. So much of this left side is actually a lot of tables and player aids. I'm trying to get this bottom section in here. This is folded a little bit differently than the other side. So pretty cool. Interesting map. Not too overboard graphically, but then again, it's not boring visually either. So cool. All right, so we've got that. Now I'm going to zoom in, and we will actually take a closer look at the counters, because one of the things that I did notice about the counters here is something that I have talked about with other more kind of traditional war games. And I like what Mark Walker's companies tend to do. And I will show you this. I'm sure a lot of these counters are going to start popping off. So look at all of them that have already come off, which is fine. I like that because it means that they're cut really nicely. And yes, I am a barbarian. I do not clip counters. Just don't have time, folks. All right, let's zoom real close in. Let's go all the way as far in as we can get. Let's make sure that this is all in focus as well. Yeah, it looks pretty sharp. Okay. So, and let them all fall out there. Okay, so here we've got some Allied armor. Funny, I like pouring them off. We have our Allied infantry. We've got some more armor here as well. Take a stab. We're probably looking at attack, defense, movement. Pretty traditional. So here's one of the aspects that I really, really like about both Flying Pig Games and Tiny Battle Publishing. Normally, what they will do is they will actually include images on the counters. So we do see the NATO iconography on here, but we also get to see a little image of a soldier, armored units. I swear, they go a long way to having a little more visual appeal to gamers who are not war gamers. So if you're looking to try to introduce somebody to the hobby, you'll have, in my opinion, and I have actually seen this with my nephew, but if you have a little more visual variety than simply the NATO icons, people are a bit more enthusiastic to check out games because there's a bit of visual pop going on. All right, so we've got, this looks like this might be supply down here. It's like maybe supply depots. All right, see how all these are just popping right on out. Nice. Okay, so here we've got, well, these are falling apart too. Here we have our Axis forces, as well as their armor. See, it's all I did was pick it up, and they dropped out, dropped it down. Another bunch came off. Cool. And of course, they are dual-sided. This is just hysterical as they go, because a lot of times when you're trying to punch counters out, you're like, oh, for crying out loud, come on. These are cut exceptionally well, but they are dual-sided, as you can see, and it did look like we have some step reduction with these units as well. So there we have the various different counters. We have 4 counter sheets. Let's see what I can slide in here back into the bag without anything else falling off and getting lost, because that is certainly what I'm trying to avoid here, because there is nothing worse than having, especially like a war game, and you lose a counter. If somebody does that with one of my games, they will never hear the end of it from me. All right, trying to put all this stuff back in. So we've got the 4 counter sheets. Get this in and then zip that back up. We have the D-Day and Beyond rules. We've got the 2 sections of the map here, the board. We've got, there's the counters, put the counters back in here. We've got the order of battle, as well as reinforcements. We've got the 2 6-sided dice. And that's what we find when we take D-Day and Beyond outside the box. Let me swing over to the other camera and I will wrap up. Got to point out, it'll probably take some time for me to be able to review D-Day and Beyond, because it is more, it does appear to be more of a traditional hex and counter war game, which I have a little harder time getting members of the gang to the table enough to play for me to review it. But I will do my best. I will do my best and get that out there for you as well. I would take a guess. I don't think we showed any. No, there is no solitaire suitability, but from what it appears to me, it would be exceptionally low for this. I am not one of these people who plays a game solitaire and can easily pull off that schizophrenia of, well, now I'm changing personalities to take over this side. I don't do too well at that. All right. So as soon as I have an opportunity, I will share my thoughts about D-Day and Beyond, which is from my friends over at Tiny Battle Publishing. It is available right now. It is the largest of the Tiny Battle Publishing releases. It does carry an MSRP of $55. That's it for this time out. Let me remind you, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already, and if you do, ding that bell. So it'll not only let you know when I upload videos such as this unboxing, it'll also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Monday through Thursday nights right here on YouTube as I bring you the latest in tabletop gaming news. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thank you very much for watching. And as I wrap up all my videos during this never-ending pandemic, I certainly hope all of you out there are being smart and staying safe. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, if you haven't subscribed to the Gaming Gang channel yet, click right here. If you'd like to see the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, click right up there. And if you want to trust YouTube's algorithm to give you something to watch, click right there. Once again, thanks so much for watching, and everybody please wear a mask.